Connie Chung at the CNN Broadcast Center in New York. Crossfire is back in 90 seconds, but first, these stories top our news alert.
Bin Laden, as we've seen lately, a federal judge is liable to do anything.
Of course, it would probably be a Republican federal judge, since that's the one who ruled on the Pledge of Allegiance. Michael Newdow may be the very most unpopular man in America. It was his lawsuit, after all, in the hands of a Republican judge on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that resulted in the Pledge of Allegiance being declared unconstitutional because it contains the phrase, "under God." He joins us tonight from Sacramento, California. Mr. Newdow, thank you for joining us, sir.
Mr. Newdow, in this big, diverse, contentious country, it's hard to get 84% of all Americans to agree on anything. But according to a new CNN USA Today Gallup poll, 84% of all Americans disagree with the court ruling declaring the Pledge of Allegiance unconstitutional. Only 14% agree. Aren't you a little embarrassed that we have a situation we're not asking you to pledge allegiance to the flag? This is a free country. You're saying that at 84% who wants to, who enjoys saying under God, are not permitted to.
I'm not saying that at all. They can do anything they want. I encourage them to worship as they please. This lawsuit is to determine whether or not they have the right to use the government to enforce their religious ideas. And that's the question.
They're not enforcing any religious ideas. Isn't it a fact that your daughter can go into the school? She can leave the room. She can be quiet. In fact, she can recite the whole Pledge of Allegiance and not say under God. This is a free country, but you try to exert a lack of freedom, try to prevent the other people from exerting their rights.
No, you're misinterpreting rights. There's an establishment clause and there's a free exercise clause. And the free exercise clause is the one that allows anybody to worship as they please. The establishment clause forbids anybody from using the government to have that worship. I shouldn't have used the word enforced, but intruded upon other people.
Well, Mr. Newdow, my problem, in addition to disagreeing with the substance of your lawsuit, let me take on the politics of it. As a liberal myself, there are a whole lot of things that I think people on the left ought to be upset about, not the least of which is today, my kids couldn't play outside in Washington, D.C. today because the air was so polluted. Not the least of which is that these corporate criminals are taking over these companies with insider trading deals that we're now learning about almost every day, and on and on and on. John Ashcroft shredding the Constitution while he puts burqas on statues of naked women. Of all the things that you could be upset about, why pick this?
This is, first of all, I don't think people understand. Atheists are a really disenfranchised minority in this country. There are 6 constitutions right now, state constitutions, that say things like what South Carolina says, that no person who denies the existence of a supreme being shall hold any office under this constitution. Could you imagine somebody having a state having no Jew could hold an office under this constitution, no black? It's, atheists are just very disenfranchised, and I think that people need to stand up for their rights. And well, I didn't make a big deal out of it. Everybody else did. I just brought a lawsuit.
Well, you made a federal case out of it, literally. I want to ask our audience, how many of you are more worried about these corporate criminals than you are about whether or not kids can say under God in the Pledge of Allegiance? Which should we be focusing on? There's a huge consensus here. I don't know if you can see that, Mr. Newdow, but people, I think, are a lot more worried about their jobs and their economic freedom than they are about whether a passing phrase reference is made to God.
I'm not the one putting me on your show. So, this is everybody else who's making the big deal.
No, but you made a federal case about it. You have to be fair about that.
I filed the lawsuit. It cost $150, and that's all I did.
Mr. Newdow, that's really disingenuous, because the thing that really got to me when I started reading about you is that you spent 4,000 hours in preparing for this case. And I'd like to read you a quote from Kathleen Doncaster. She's a parent in the Elk Grove School District where you have filed a suit. You said she said about the pledge, it's about being American. He needs to get a hobby. Have you ever thought of you spending your time watching basketball or something like that rather than spending 4,000 hours on this ridiculous case?
I think there probably are a lot of people in this nation who spend 4,000 hours watching basketball. I'd rather uphold the Constitution.
Well, upholding the Constitution. See, a lot of people think that you won't. You know, I'll make you a little bet. There is no chance in the world that this is going to get through the Supreme Court. I don't think it's going to even get through the left-wing U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I mean, this is just you have just wasted 4,000 hours and humiliated your daughter.
Well, my daughter is not part of this, although she's a wonderful kid.
She's not part of it? I thought she was.
No, it's my right as a parent to be able to send my child to school and not have government inculcate religious belief.
Let me, Mr. Newdow, read back to you a comment that was quoted to you in the San Francisco Chronicle, where you apparently said, quote, "It may seem like a far stretch, but if you do this incrementally, this is what causes people to get killed. A man flew a plane into a very tall building in New York, believing he was doing it for God." You're not blaming religion for the mass murders of September 11th, are you, sir?
Absolutely. Are you denying that's what it was about?
Yes, absolutely. The terrorists who blew up the Oklahoma City building were atheists. Am I going to blame you and other atheists for killing 168 innocent souls in Oklahoma City?
I don't know that they were atheists, but they didn't do it in the name of atheism. This man did it in the name of Allah.
So that's because of what somebody says. But again, so you're not willing to take responsibility. You're not willing to take responsibility for, say, Oklahoma City or any other crimes that atheists may commit. But instead,
even if it had happened in the name of atheism, if in fact that's what had occurred, which didn't, but if it had, that would be an indication to show that's why we don't want religion involved in religion, in atheistic religion or in any religion.
Mr. Newdow, I just wonder how far you plan to go, and if you've thought that out. You know, we have on our currency, "In God We Trust." We have that as the motto in the House of Representatives. We have prayers in the House of Representatives and Senate. We have chaplains. We have military chaplains. The President takes an oath on a Bible. Many officers take an oath on a Bible. The Supreme Court starts every session saying, "God save this honorable court."
Pretty horrible for an atheist.
Are you going to bring suit about all those things?
Absolutely.
Against all those practices?
If I win here, I'll keep going, yes. I mean, can you imagine if we had all those things with Allah or David Koresh or someone else that you don't agree with? The Reverend Sung Myung Moon? I mean, you're comfortable with it because it's your religion. I'm uncomfortable with it, and I'm an American, and I'm supposed to be protected just like you.
But 84% of Americans believe there is a difference between David Koresh and God.
That's right.
Is that incredible to you?
No, but the point is that we don't do this based on majorities. This is the Bill of Rights. This is to uphold the minority rights. That's why we have a Bill of Rights.
I think you slide rather remarkably between uncomfortable and unconstitutional. I don't doubt that it's uncomfortable for atheists to hear a passing reference.
Why should it be? That's what the Bill of Rights.
But no, the Bill of Rights does not protect you against being uncomfortable or being exposed to ideas you don't like.
So then we should silence people who with the free speech right, because 84% doesn't want to hear something. I'm not silencing anybody. I'm silencing the government, which is what the Establishment Clause says. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion.
And there's no establishment of religion, because to do anything you don't have to.
You just listed 6 different things where there's God all over the place. That's a religious establishment. That's theism, just as the judge said in the opinion. That's an establishment, because it's not a specific one religion. That's not the issue. The issue is any sort of religion being established. Yes, theism has been.
Mr. Newdow, we're going to take a break. If you can hold tight, I appreciate you staying with us past the break. And when we get back, we're going to ask Mr. Newdow about his newest crusade to change the way we talk about men and women. Later.